Welcome in to the Source Say Podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network, presented by Club Blue. Club Blue is the official collective partner of the University of Kentucky. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined by the one and only Sean Smith. Folks, it's chaos. It's absolute mass chaos. We're 10 minutes late. I mean, we're always late, but like more so late than usual because we just walked in the door from Milwaukee. Just could not have. I walked in the door, dropped my stuff, opened up my laptop, and immediately jumped in the Pope show. So I got home at like 6:05 or whatever it was, and Pope show starts at 6. So that goes all the way through 7 o'clock, and it is 7:10. So I had to take care of some of those duties. Steven, who it's his birthday, by the way. Shout out Steven Peak and his birthday. Appreciate everything he does for this show and everything he does for KSR. He had to go Uber back home, and so I had to start this while he's going to jump on and do it. So it's just been mass chaos. But guess what? It's the first ever edition of Sources Say for the Sweet 16, so you should expect a little bit of chaos, Sean Smith.
Yes, you should. It's been a long time coming, right? Like, I know you're happy. I know you're going to the Sweet 16 for the first time. I covered 2 Sweet 16s. The K-State loss, and then, unfortunately, the Auburn Elite Eight. But getting back there when you haven't been in 5-6 years, Jack, it just being able to have those conversations at the water cooler this week at work are what people live for this time of year. Being able to talk to your coworkers about your bracket and how it wasn't Kentucky that decided to bust it is nice, right? Like, and have those conversations with people and get another week with this team, another week with this fan base and stuff together, and in a matchup where I think this team has a lot of confidence going into it.
And yes, I did have my mic unplugged because I'm an idiot, and also, again, it's chaos. We're just loading up on first. So we arrive in Milwaukee on Wednesday, and it's sleeting, it's nasty, it's gross. We are not having a good time to get the trip started. But then, you go into the locker room Thursday. So the way the NCAA tournament works is it's totally open locker room access. They get a pregame interview opportunity with both teams beyond just what you see at the podium. So you can go and ask questions, whatever you want, learn a little bit more about these kids' personalities, but in particular, go talk to the opposing team, get a feel for them. That was when, Sean, last year we went and talked to Jack Golke beforehand, and it was like, oh, this kid is weirdly confident. He kind of feels like he's calling his shot and thinks that he's about to go do something special. That's weird. Why is a kid from Oakland running his mouth the way that he is? To his credit, he was totally correct. We go into the Troy locker room, and we leave, and there's just kind of this vibe, Sean, of like, hey, we're just grateful to be here. We're just going to go try our best, and if it doesn't turn out into a win, we at least just want people to know that we belong. It's kind of comments like that where it's like, oh, well, that doesn't really, push fear upon me listening to that as a fan. Like, I'm just like, okay, well, these guys are just here for their, participation trophy. Like, to their credit, they deserve respect. They win the Sun Belt. Like, they are deserving of the opportunity, but I don't think they had that we're going to go win this game mindset. And, the stress and the pressure that I think is on BBN just wasn't there for the team. Like, I don't think they felt any of that pressure. They go out and play unbelievably on both ends of the floor. They're locked in. They're engaged. They play loose. It was an unbelievable effort that leads to a 19-point victory to get things rolling against Troy. Then fast forward a couple of days, we get a matchup against Illinois, kind of the same thing. We get Orlando Antigua, we get Tomislav Ivicic, big, little Z. We get 2 pros in Kasparis and Will Riley, and just go down the list. There were so many things that had you potentially fearful. But then you watch the game, Sean, and how loose they came out and how confident they were and engaged and focused and locked in. It was like they showed up for a business meeting, ready to take care of business and leave there with a victory. I was so blown away, Sean, with just the approach and the mentality, and you felt watching them play from basically the opening tip. I think they trailed for like 26 total seconds. You felt really confident watching that game that Kentucky was just going to figure out a way, and I thought that was really, really awesome.
Yeah, good job. And credit to Mark Pope and his staff for having his guys loose and ready to play. All weekend. You got that first one out of the way, right, and kind of got that burden off your back of, God, we can't do this again. Even though this is an entirely new staff, an entirely new team and program, you just can't do it again. You can't wipe out all the positive momentum that you had for the last 12 months with a first round loss. But getting that one out of the way, and then getting to yesterday and just playing the way that they did, moving the way they did offensively. Obviously, we'll get into this, but the biggest turn for this team has been the defensive end of the floor, and we'll dive into that as we go throughout the night. First of all, I got to address this. Like, there's a lot of people saying I can't hear anything for the Tennessee fan on the right side of the screen. Like,
good point. You're a
hey,
traitor.
No, hold on,
You're
hold
cooked.
on. I listen. And terrible choice of color for this.
Are you
this
kidding
night.
me?
This is an accident. I promise.
You're kidding me.
So
you couldn't of all the Kool-Aid to drink, you couldn't even drink the right color. You couldn't even drink blue Kool-Aid. That's what we do. We're the homers, and you can't even drink the right color Kool-Aid. What are you doing?
Listen, I'm going to bring it back here. Have we ever thought that maybe I'm just sticking to the script because it's worked in Kentucky's favor all year?
Yeah, there better be some type of reason.
Because if anyone here thinks I'm a Tennessee fan, boy, you got it wrong.
Like, knowing where you're from, knowing just the mindset around where you're from and how they actually feel about the Volunteers. I don't think there is a program that you despise more in this existence than Tennessee. But guess what? You keep making the wrong steps, buddy. So you're I'm one or two away from getting fired from the show.
Yeah, we can't do that. So go Cats. And I want to flip my pick, but then again, I'm very superstitious.
Ride the wave, baby.
And I picked them to sweep them in the regular season, and it worked in Kentucky's favor. So I'm just going to pick Tennessee just for the good vibes of it's worked all year. So I'm afraid if I change it, it's going to flip back and go against Kentucky. So you best believe, hey, the way this team's playing right now, and the biggest thing for me was Lamont Butler's health. And seeing him be able to go through both games, play the minutes he played yesterday, the play he made at the end to get the steal and the dish to Brendan Garrison, I thought was the play that sealed the deal. But it scared me when he went in with the shoulder. I'm like, please God. But seeing him go the distance and make it through and play and make shots, it gives you a ton of confidence. And here's another thing too, not having Andrew Carr for a couple of those games. Like there's a lot of missing pieces that Kentucky didn't have. There's some that they had that they won't. But the big talking point for tonight, though, at the beginning of this thing is just how they played yesterday. And Kobe Bryant making shots, Lamont doing his thing, Amari Williams impacting the game in a variety of ways. But hey, it's nice to be sitting here going into the second week of this thing, Jack, with us having episodes not talking about the future and the portal and all these other things that happen. We're actually still getting to talk about this team, and what a breath of fresh air it is.
Man, that just made, like, the way you phrase that, just like there was something really cool waking up this morning, and Steven and I just kind of looking at each other and being like, we get to keep this thing going. Like, we get to keep enjoying this team and their personalities and just their enjoyment for life as Kentucky Wildcats. Like, this has been such an unbelievable ride with genuinely good kids, like getting to know them and interacting with them behind the scenes, the staff. Like, this is everything that you see and how enjoyable they are as a team. That, like, on television, in person, at games, whatever, they are like that behind the scenes as well. And it's just been, doing this as my job has just been an absolute blast. It's been the most fun year of my entire life doing this. So there is just something different about just waking up and being able to have the conversations of what's next. What are the keys to winning a third matchup against Tennessee? Like, what does the historical data say about how hard it is to beat a team 3 times? Like, we get to have these types of conversations because of them taking care of business the way they did, and we just really appreciate extra second that we get, like we're on borrowed time right now. And every additional second that we get with this team is really cool. Sean, you brought up the shoulder with Lamont and how he responded. We got a really cool quote from Mark Pope tonight during his call-in show. The advantage of having the chaos and being able to have that in front of us is because we do get some as up to the last second updates as we could possibly get. He said that Lamont is protecting his shoulder in a way that is allowing him, like the way he's taking hits, he has learned to maneuver in ways that are going to minimize the potential damage of any one hard screen, any dive to the floor, whatever. He is basically studied himself to keep him on the floor. Like they've said, his arm's hanging on by a thread, but he's doing every little tiny thing to keep him on the floor. And he's like, man, I can't help but just appreciate him and his mindset and his approach and him just as a warrior. I mean, when you sign up for a kid with the nickname Lamarch, and knowing that this is his time and like this is why you sign a kid like this, and to get this version of him where he is overcoming a very serious shoulder issue and currently dealing with it, it is just fascinating to me how hearing the insights with him. Read off the exact quote. It said he's got 260-pound guys just seeking him out, and he's got this uncanny ability to get all the way to the point of the screen, go soft, go limp with his shoulder, and just curl off it. I'm telling you, as a guy who studies this game and studies contact, I've never seen anybody like it. The ability that he has to protect his shoulder right now is almost the most stunning thing that I've ever seen in the game of basketball. It really is. It really is incredible. Mark Pope is a very hyperbolic person. We know this, but that's a pretty darn good quote.
It is. And it just, not having him for the games that he was out. I mean, obviously you could see the impact that Lamont Butler and things had on this Kentucky team, but seeing him back out there and a guy that's got Final Four experience, right? Like a guy that knows what it takes to get to the final weekend of this tournament, not just the final weekend, but the final night is a big deal too. And having that guy out there on the floor just making plays. And what it does, Jack, is when you got Lamont on the floor, it allows Kobe Bryant to be Kobe Bryant. It allows Otega Owe to be Otega Owe. It allows all these guys to be the version of themselves. And then yesterday, you can kind of see things flip. And then they play with the ball in Kobe Bryant's hands and put him in ball screen, and they just carved up Illinois with that way offensively. Like Kobe Bryant looked like an NBA scorer yesterday, scoring the basketball at the levels that he did. And I was so mind blown that they kept dropping and just stayed in drop coverage. And he did a great job snaking the ball and getting to spots in mid range, rising and lifting from three. But with Lamont, Jack, I thought hitting a couple of threes was such a big thing for this team. Just knocking down a couple of perimeter shots. It still scares me when he's in there, banging under the rim and bodying and defensively. And I'm like, please just don't get that shoulder hung when somebody gives a ball fake and goes up and under. But seeing him go through, the last game, obviously, SEC tournament and stuff, and then getting to this game in the NCAA tournament and getting through an entire weekend, I think gives me confidence that they're managing it well and whatever they're doing to make sure he's prepared to play and getting to that next game. I think that's probably the biggest point for Kentucky right now, to where they're going to go as far as I think as Lamont can go with them. And if he's able to continue being on the floor, then I think that this team does have a chance to play its way into that final weekend. If he's not, obviously it puts Kentucky in a bind. But the fact that he's been able to go both games and play the number of minutes he did yesterday and be as impactful, it gives you a ton of confidence in what Kentucky's rolling out there right now, because they're not entirely healthy. Colin Chandler being able to play minutes at this point in the season has kind of maybe alleviated some of that no Kerr, no Jackson Robinson, because if you didn't have those minutes from him, you're really thin. But getting those minutes and making shots and his defensive impact, it's kind of eliminated some of losing Jackson Robinson for the last 3 weeks.
And I just remember so vividly talking about, when Jackson Robinson, after that Auburn game, and you get the news that Jackson's out for the year. and we just kind of have to work through, we talked about the moving the goalposts and what, the new expectations of this program were for the immediate future. If a Final Four run was still on the table, we'll just kind of when you deal with news of that magnitude, he's the second leading scorer, but the biggest gravity player on the team. When you lose a guy like that, you just kind of say, I mean, you're not going to make up for that absence. I mean, you're just not going to. So what are the next steps? Like, how do you navigate the who steps up in his place? What roles do those guys fill? Do you go big? Do you you have to kind of just ask all these new questions about it. And one of the main thing that we talked about, where we said it's not impossible for Kentucky to go on a run, but if they are to go on a run, it is a non-negotiable for a couple of the extra guys to step up. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't have to be the same guy. Doesn't have to be, Brandon Garrison stepping up as 15 point per game guy in games. Like, that's not necessary, but you do need balanced help for the guy. The starters are good enough, but when they need breathers, you can't have the drop off just fall off a cliff. Like, you can't have it be the next group be just scrambling and drowning. The way we saw them all step up in their own individual ways in that Illinois game is the recipe to a Final Four run. Like, if we're dreaming big about this team, what you saw from that bench is exactly what we would need to get to San Antonio. When you get 6 from Colin Chandler, 4 from Trent Noah, 5 from Brandon Garrison, 5 from Ansley Almanor, we talked about it. Like, Ansley, you don't have to have a Mississippi State game, but you gotta be a positive when you're out on the floor, and that just means hit a shot or two. That's all you need. He hits 1 massive 3 at the end of the first half, then hits 2 massive free throws to close out the game. Check. Trent Noah comes in, he gets that reverse layup, and then he gets fouled on the 3, hits two free throws. Check. Colin Chandler, the confidence that this kid has on both ends of the floor, where he is now, I mean, if you want to say 80% of Jackson Robinson, 70%, something like that, he is a contributor on both ends of the floor, and that has made up, I mean, almost the biggest chunk of the difference with Jackson. It's it hasn't been all, Jackson is a star, but Colin Chandler has been more than serviceable. And then if you get, Trent and Brandon and Ansley, those guys stepping up, you can dream big about this team. Like, it is not a long shot to say that they can, beat Tennessee on Friday and then just see what the hell happens against Houston on Sunday. You can dream big about that because of the way the bench stepped up, Sean.
Absolutely. And it's always been a by committee collective thing with this team, right? Like, it's been that way in all the games that they've won and some of their best performances, Jack. It's been because multiple guys have stepped up in their own individual roles. And throughout the season, some of those roles have been forced to change due to guys being out with injuries and other things. But now that you're at this point in the season, like Colin Chandler's development, we talked so much about the freshmen, right? How they weren't playing at all when you had Jackson Robinson, you had Kirk Rissa, and everybody was healthy. But now you've got to this point that the development of Colin Chandler has added an element to Kentucky that I don't think that any of us really factored in November, December. But that high upset guy that just continues to get better and better. I mean, he shot a logo 3 yesterday and nailed it with 21 seconds on the shot clock and 5 guys outside the 3-point line. And it's just like, whoa, that's how you feel today.
But he did it against Troy too.
I know, but if you had showed me those 2 clips in early January, and I didn't know the outcome or the result, I'd have been like, what the hell are we watching right now? Like why is he doing that? But the confidence that he's had, the defensive energy and effort that he's added to that end of the floor, the improvement that Kentucky's made in that area, like there was a stretch there, Jack, where we thought the defense was going to get them again. But they got better and better and better. The numbers back it up in the last stretch of play that they're defending at a clip that's among the best in the tournament of the teams remaining. And if you're going to defend and you're going to continue to make shots and run offense the way that they are, they were back cutting Illinois a ton early yesterday, and they continue to do it all game. And that is, cutting with a purpose. That's something we've seen this team do all year. But you're confidently making shots. You got Colin Chandler stepping up and playing a role. Trent Noah goes in, plays a role. I thought Ansley Almanor hit a big corner three when Lamont Butler
It was
got in the lane,
huge.
and when he takes one from the corner, I think it's going in every single time. Also, the lineup at the end of the game, trusting guys to not turn the ball over, and he played some minutes late and hitting for being able to hit free throws. I feel like that this staff, we know that they like to collect data, right? But I feel like they've collected a season's worth, and they went to what matched the data late in the year, and they've kind of figured out some things. Now, yesterday, the minutes reflected that it's win or go home, right? A number of guys played a lot of minutes, and obviously Owe will play more on Friday if there's no foul trouble. But seeing Lamont go up there, seeing Kobe Brea play a high number of minutes, you're getting a good balance of minutes from guys that come off the bench. But every single guy that played made an impact, and you said it. That's the recipe to get to the final weekend of this thing. If you can win this one Friday, you go all in on Sunday, regardless of who the opponent is, and you say, hey, here we are with a brand new roster, brand new staff. We didn't have any time to hardly recruit the transfer portal, had not much of a high school freshman class coming in that we, outside of relationships that maybe we had already built with Colin Chandler and getting in-state kids. But here you are back in a place where Kentucky hadn't been since 2019, and you got a chance to play your way into a Final Four. It's a successful season regardless of what happens this weekend, but not entirely out of the question that they're able to give us another week, depending on how they play. It's in their hands, and that's what you want this time of year.
This comment really just from very fascinating what our chat looks like right now. There would be the same person was talking about that same person was talking about no, Amari needs to thunder dunk. Is the same person talking about 14th most common stripper name according to Google search. So a shout out to all of our comments. There's one that asked about my guy Lynn Wheatley says from Southeast Gym, one of my favorite people on planet Earth, asked about how Williams' back is feeling. A couple comments about that. I asked Amari about it, and he said that it really made me laugh. He said, I took a bunch of Tylenol and I'm feeling a lot better. It's like, buddy, you're surrounded by some of the best team doctors and trainers in all of sports. And the best you can come up with is Tylenol. It's like, buddy, I think there's something very funny about him. His, even the Weetabix and how that has become a story with, Mark Pope putting him on the spot at the podium. He gives a canned answer. Amari gives a canned answer about why, he flirted with a triple double in that game and played with energy and all that stuff. And Pope's like, quit lying. You tell them the real answer. And it was the breakfast cereal that he needed to eat to unleash his real powers from back home. There was the nostalgia, and it's just absolutely hilarious. And they apparently went and bought all the Weetabix locally, and you can't find it anywhere in Lexington. It's the number 3 most sold cereal in the world right now on Amazon because Kentucky fans are absolute psychopaths. I love us. I love BBN. I love this whole storyline so much. But you can thank a flavorless cereal from England for why Amari Williams is playing the way he is right now.
Can you imagine just waking up and being like, why are we selling so much of this now?
Could you
just out of nowhere?
They just wake up, they're like, did our cereal just become the best thing of all time? Are we the new Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I
knew it.
Based on what?
Because there's always a story of March, right? And especially the years that they're able to extend and go a couple of weekends, there's always something that comes out of it. And this was the first weekend, and I can't wait to see what happens next with that. But hey, great marketing by Mark Pope, and then with the podium, and obviously Amari's like, well, yeah, it's this. No, it's really good. It's really, really good. This is a chance to get an NIL.
Yeah, Amari's bro, just being totally honest, it's bland. You probably won't like it. And Pope's like, shut up, bro. Read the room. This is your moment. Get an NIL. You got to cash his NIL check. There's just something just very wholesome about that moment. We get we get a ton of that stuff, like just a ton of news updates, and like I love the vibe of the NCAA tournament, and that's what has crushed me, because you hear all those stories. Like I remember TJ Beisner way back in the day, that Isaiah Briscoe team, he went viral, like became famous for his one question with Zay, because Isaiah Briscoe was the most standoffish, hated media human being to walk the face of the earth, like absolutely despised it. But when that team went on its run in the SEC tournament and then all the way through the NCAA tournament, like there was an agreement between, they said, hey, I'm not going to ask you any questions. We'll all leave you alone if you just let me ask the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your life. Like, what advice would you give a newborn baby? Like some just ridiculous things like that. And it led to absolute brilliant content that you would not get without this locker room access. So it sucks when you get like a Reed Shepherd moment where he's sobbing in front of a camera after, his heart gets ripped out of his chest, losing in the first round of Oakland. Like, you get those things, and it's the worst experience in the world. I hate being there, but there are positives too, and I really do enjoy that. And the Weetabix little story is definitely part of it. And the Tylenol, I thought that was very funny, Sean.
I'm just glad that Stephen Peake has a birthday where Kentucky's still playing basketball at this point in the year, because
you have no idea.
I'm sure they've ruined every birthday for the last 6 years.
He told a lot of stories about that. He's told a lot of stories about that driving home today, where he's like, every birthday call that he's gotten for like the last 6 years, every single one is, happy birthday, Steven. We love you so much. Sorry about the cats. And there was just something like I'm so glad that we get to do it for him, because he is our like just the most passionate. He's our resident psychopath. Like he obsesses over things, and is as knowledgeable. Like, you'll be like, hey, what was the most painful memory in your lifetime? Like, what was that? And he'll be like, Wisconsin 2015.
No hesitation.
Go to name your time. I can name several. Oakland, St. Peter's. He'll throw it back decades. He has just this ultimate collection of heartbreak that it's time to reward him this year for his birthday, especially. It's time to reward him with a run, and even just this, like even just getting to the second weekend in Indianapolis is definitely a big part of that. But speaking of that. Disastrous city, Sean, because we just got to talk. It's the elephant in the room. I hate that city. It is my least favorite city in the world. It is caused me nothing but heartbreak. I'm 0-3 there in my last 3 shots that I think ever. I think since doing this full time. I think I am just 0-3 overall. And my experiences are the Kansas game during the COVID year, where we walk in and it is an absolute just warehouse, and they send us up on the moon for God knows why. And there are like 6 media members there. It makes no sense. Like nobody wants to be there. It's miserable. Like the media stuff is via Zoom anyway, so it's not like you're getting anything by being there. You hear every little ball bounce. You hear every shoe squeak. You hear it's just the worst environment of all time. We lay an egg and lose that game, just like 21 other times that season as well. You get the St. Peter's game. Hey, that was a pretty painful one, and that was the day that I told myself I'd never go back to Indianapolis ever again. That was I would never do it. And then the year after that, we get the Case and Wallace missed free throws. We get the inbounds pass and all that stuff against Michigan State in the Champions Classic. So the city's been terrible. It's where they lost in Wisconsin 2015. It was Duke 2018. I mean, just go down the list, Sean. There are so many terrible experiences in Indianapolis. How do they overcome those awful demons in that city of Hoosierville?
Well, they've been able to exercise some getting to the second weekend, right? Like that's something this program's, not been able to do. And since we've had this podcast, this is the first time, which it's crazy to think that our podcast kind of went hand in hand with the drought when this started.
I thought it was me, bro. After that Oakland loss, I sat there and I said, I got to quit. for the betterment of this program. I got to quit my job. I got to stop doing this. I cannot continue to be the detriment of the program that I love most. I cannot be the bad luck charm every single time I walk into a building, knowing that I'm going to leave with a loss. I have so many. In fact, I might have some right here. But like, I have so many just random media badges and stuff over the years of just loss, heartbreaking loss, devastating loss, the worst loss of your lifetime. I keep them all because I'm like, maybe there will be a turnaround. Maybe there's going to be something someday that's going to make all this absolute nonsense worthwhile. Maybe it's right now. Maybe we're experiencing it right now. But
St. Peter's was the worst, and I think we should go back to that same lobby and just do it all over again.
Speaking of the devil, you'll never believe where the media hotel is.
Same one. And the lobby right there where and you know what's wild? Tennessee was there and was playing there.
There's so many overlaps, dude.
If I'm not mistaken,
it was the game right before.
If you take out the Final Four year in 2015, I'm pretty sure every other NCAA tournament stop in Indy, Tennessee's been there too. They were there the year Kentucky beat Louisville and Michigan because Michigan beat Tennessee in the Sweet 16. That was when Quanzo Martin was coaching Tennessee. Tennessee was there the first weekend. Now they weren't on the same side of the bracket, but now they are. And here you go. So it seems to be when the NCAA tournament's in Indy, it's Kentucky and Tennessee, whether they're if it's the first round or the second round, they always seem to put those two there. And the crazy part of this is the history of this rivalry, as many times as they've played, to not have it on this stage at any point, which says more about Tennessee's program than it does Kentucky's. I mean, Kentucky's obviously been here enough. Tennessee's just now getting to this point where they're able to get here. So we'll see what happens, but that building's going to be blue.
You think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The excitement. I mean, I had someone text me last night after the opening 4 minutes and they spent $1,100 on tickets. And I'm like, man, you're really confident after 4 minutes. So I was like, are you going? Yeah, of course.
Well, hey, so if you're gonna spend $1,100 on tickets, I don't advise you doing that. I want you to get in that building, but I want you to do it, within reason, and you can do it with our friends at SeatGeek. Use code KSR10 for 10% off your next SeatGeek order. Look, I wasn't impressed with BBN in Milwaukee. I just wasn't. I was overwhelmed by orange. As you heard to start the show, I hate the color orange, and there was way too much of it in that building. We tried telling you that all the deals, all the discounts are there available for you with our friends at SeatGeek, and it just wasn't the best effort. But I did get a lot of feedback, and they said that the hope was they could make it through the weekend, get to Indianapolis, and that they would kind of push all their chips in on SeatGeek. So. Please, I'm begging. We got to make this happen. We got to fill this arena up with our friends at SeatGeek. Use promo code KSR10 for 10% off your next SeatGeek order. So it's gonna be a lot of fun and different setup with Lucas Oil Stadium. What do you think about that, Sean? That's definitely a new dynamic. That's definitely going. When we talk about just the vibes and kind of exercising those demons, that is something to kind of address, that it's not in the building where a lot of the maybe the worst of the worst with Wisconsin, that was obviously in that building, but everything since then I believe has been in Gangbridge Fieldhouse, or how the name has changed. Bankers Life has changed like 7 times, but it's been in the basketball venue, not the football venue. Does that change your mindset at all going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think so, because the recent the recent pain has been in the other building. I mean, I've had some bad moments there too, and some of them have been side by side with you. And obviously, when Duke beat Kentucky badly that year in the Champions Classic was also in that building. So we got to have some. I think we're due, right? Like you're due for some good Indy and some good stories from Indy. But obviously being in a dome or a football stadium like that, some of the concern is, do you shoot it well there? And do you not with the backdrop? And I guess at this
Or the
point, Tennessee,
basketball.
or the basketball. So when you put the two together, I mean, Tennessee has not shot it well in any building, against Kentucky this year. So if you can if you can put something else in their way, then maybe it works in Kentucky's favor. But though the shoot around there will be, I think, more important than it was in the first round. Just getting in there, getting acclimated to the building, getting your eyesight and everything, your backdrop and everything there, and kind of seeing it. But um, it's different when that this regional is being played there and some of the others, aren't being played in such a big building. But the way that they kind of played in an end zone, it's not as overwhelming as what the Final Four will be in such a big backdrop building. But I don't know.
Will be what the Final Four will be.
That's true.
So
I guess you can at least get that advantage by sealing to court and seeing and being inside a building that large. But I know Kentucky fans didn't show up at maybe the number that you thought they would in Milwaukee, but I believe they will with it being an Indy. And I think that Kentucky fans have had, this has been a long time coming. I think some people were still kind of hesitant to go all the way in on an opening weekend, just given the heartbreak and the letdowns the last few years that have ended either in the first or second round. But getting back to this point, just being able to have March Madness conversations with your team still playing, it's something that I'll probably never take for granted again, just because it's been so long since we've been able to do this. I mean, like I said, you and I have never got to do this. Like at this point for the last 5 years, we've been talking about 6 guys probably going into the portal within a week and the million names that are going in that Kentucky may be targeting. And that was our content. Or is it time for John Calipari to leave? Like that's literally what our off seasons have been for the last 3 years. So it's nice to have this at this point of the season that's pushing us towards April. And I mean, let's see what happens. Like I think Kentucky's got a great shot. And Mark Pope has his guys playing loose right now. Is this the end for Rick Barnes? Like, is this going to be the end of Rick Barnes' career?
A lot of speculation. That's the case.
And if it is, it would make sense to me. But I mean, it's an SEC battle. And how about this? Out of all the teams in the SEC that got in the tournament, this is the one that's the first matchup of 2. And 7 teams obviously get into the Sweet 16, like what this league has been able to do in this tournament to this point. But one's going to be eliminated because of playing within the league. But you couldn't avoid it very long. It's just wild that it's these 2 that get it.
George Licker says we'll get Doug Shows. Ugh. Nathan C says, I heard Shows has hemorrhoids and can't travel. George Licker responds, oh, I thought that said Sean is a hemorrhoid. I thought it was a jab at you, but do you think Doug Shows has hemorrhoids? Weird segment. That is a really weird. That's a really weird. That's a really weird segue. But
what sponsorship are we leading into now?
I misread it. I thought it said Sean has hemorrhoid. I was like, damn, that was brutal. I don't understand the.
Man, I had one guy going all in on me yesterday about picking Tennessee, and I'm like, look, man,
you are getting kind of cooked in the chat.
That's fine. Like I know what I'm doing here. I'm a veteran with this. I flipped it. I'm not going to switch it now because it's obviously worked in Kentucky's favor all year.
Oh,
someone said I got a Bleacher Report shout out, and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Was it the ball? Was it the ball roll? Maybe
could have been.
Talk about that, because I do think that was a pretty cool little just. Out of 10,000 things that happened during a basketball game, that that obviously being a seemingly inconsequential thing that ended up being massive in real time. Break that down for us.
I think Steven's going to pull the videos up here. So if you want to show, well, yesterday would probably be the best place to start. But right there before the end of the first half, and then we'll come back to this clip in a second. But Illinois scores, And I don't know if you can see, but there's 36 seconds when Amari Williams grabs the ball. And this is not something I know a lot of people were talking, giving Lamont Butler a ton of credit for, basketball IQ. And it was great awareness in the situation. But this is something that Mark Pope talks about with his team. And this is a strategy that they use. And they've not been in many situations this year where they could take advantage of this because it has to be obviously off the made basket. But the ball's rolling. The game clock continues to move in the first half in college basketball. It stops in the final minute of regulation and the final minute of overtime. This also can't happen in the NBA in a final minute because the clock stops in the NBA at the final minute of the first, second, third, and the last two of the fourth on made baskets. So what this does, instead of having 36 seconds on the game clock and a 30-second shot clock to work with, the ball rolls, the game clock moves, but the shot clock doesn't start. So when Lamont picks this thing up, the shot clock is wiped out. So now you've taken away a 2-for-1 for Illinois, and you've created an end of half situation where you have the ball. And if it works out in your favor with a possession arrow, you get the ball to start the second half as well. And we know Kentucky, Trent Noah got fouled on the three there to end the first half. The reason I'm saying that this is something that's taught is if you go back to the Tennessee game in Knoxville, this is probably one of the most upset moments I've seen Mark Pope all year. Same situation, Tennessee scores. You see Mark Pope in the corner. So 36 seconds on the game clock. Watch his reaction. He's no. And they throw the ball in too early. And Tennessee gets 6 seconds to work with if Kentucky misses a shot. So that didn't take away the 2-for-1. So the awareness in that moment yesterday to see Kentucky do it. And if you go back to the one from yesterday, you actually see Kerr Krissa standing up communicating the same thing. So this is a program-wide thing that Kentucky does. Watch Kerr. So I just think that's cool. I think it's and some other teams will do this stuff, but I think this is an awareness to think about it. They threw in a 3/4 court heave with 1.5 seconds that had a chance. Imagine if there's 5 or 6 seconds and you got 4 dribbles and get up the floor and get a better look. Like, those points matter. And I think that eliminating a possession from Illinois and then ending the half with points in your favor, I think is managing situational basketball, and I just think it's brilliant.
So that's obviously, I mean, we saw the Tennessee versus Illinois growth there in an identical situation. This team obviously very capable of growth throughout the season, and defense obviously probably the number one thing that you look at as a the numbers just falling down to 112 nationally on that end of the floor after that trip to Oxford, and jumping up the way they have, and where you watch them and like you don't see them as defensive turnstiles anymore. Like I saw unbelievable defensive possessions against Illinois. Like when I was watching in real time the way they were guarding Will Riley and how comfortable a pro's pro was. Kasparis, very same thing. That's a lottery pick. Like that is as good as it gets. And Kentucky throwing the kitchen sink at him and making him very uncomfortable. Like, obviously, Kylan Boswell had a good game. There are some, Mark Pope said tonight that, Tomislav said she didn't want him to take 12 threes in the game. I get it. Like, it wasn't a perfect effort. But for where this team was 6 weeks ago versus where they are right now, Pope said tonight that I think Bart Torvik has the stat that in the NCAA tournament, they're grading out as the number 2 defense in the entire field. Like, on what planet is that? Like, right behind Houston, and you like, we all know the reputation that Houston has and who they are. What specifically, Sean, have you seen from this team on that end of the floor? Especially here recently. Obviously, the 6 week sample size is what we have, and I think over that span they're like 11th nationally since that trip to Oxford. But like, what have you seen here recently to suggest that they are one of the best defensive teams in the field? As surprising as that sounds,
I think a lot of it is just defending together. I think their team help defense has been a lot better. I think they're guarding the ball better. So just overall, and another thing that kind of goes, it, it makes a ton of sense when you break it down is some consistency with guys that are playing, right? Like they're there for a while, Jack. I mean, Andrew Carr, if you remember, what wasn't healthy for a long stretch of the season. And I think that impacts your defense, especially on the interior. Like Andrew Carr doesn't show up a ton in the box score, but his impact goes well beyond it, right? And I think as a veteran defender and a veteran player, obviously having Lamont on the floor too, with on ball pressure helps. Colin Chandler being able to guard and being an active defender. But to me, I think that this team and the staff identified, hey, we're really bad on this end of the floor right now. And we're really good offensively. That's not going to go away. Let's lean in and let's focus on the defensive end of the floor here. And early in the season, it was a lot of like switching back and forth between we're going to go zone at this point in the game, and that's going to give us a chance, or we're going to go back to man, or we're going to show a 1-3-1 and kind of morph into a man to man, or is it a tandem 2-3, whatever Kentucky was doing. It was kind of trying to keep teams off balance. But a lot of it, Jack, was because they weren't great at really anything on the defensive end. But now you're seeing guys be able to stay in front of the ball. I think you're seeing Kentucky play with a physicality on that end of the floor. They're going to the glass and doing some good things there. But to me, I think it's just more of their rotations and things out of help have been so much more, crisp and stuff than what they were in December, January, even early February. So I think a commitment to that end of the floor has been the biggest thing that has changed. And when you can kind of key in and say, all right, we're projected to be a 3 or 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, but this defensive end of the floor is going to cost us. Whatever the focal point was, Jack, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been great. Whether it's mixing up your ball screen coverage, how you're defending the post, just being more active and help. But to me, the rotations and seeing guys be there, and it was even, to me, it stood out the most in the Oklahoma game in the SEC tournament. Early in the game, the way they were defending, I'm like, okay, this team has really turned a corner on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's knock out some bills here real quickly. Enjoy the home court advantage with Monticello Bank's HELOC special and use the equity you built in your home to finance special home projects and improvements. Score big with a fantastic introductory rate and attractive closing costs with 20 locations in 14 counties across Kentucky. We're just around the corner, so hurry in and speak with one of our mortgage lenders about this limited time offer today. Find us on the web at mbcbank.com. Monticello Bank, where people matter. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. And then I also wanted to show you guys our friends at Kentucky at Origin Hotel Lexington. You guys will love them. They're located at Summit at Frisk Farm. Our stylish rooms and vibrant atmosphere capture the essence of the Bluegrass State. Enjoy locally inspired cuisine at our on-site restaurant, 33 Stays, and explore all that Lexington has to offer when you stay at Origin Hotel Lexington. Book your stay today and experience the best of Kentucky hospitality, plus explore more unique locations in our collection by visiting originhotel.com. So Stephen, Stephen, we're birthday buddies. We're talking with Steven in the chat and getting some video pulled up and all that. But a couple days removed away from the next round, but we're a day removed from the previous round. Like, what do you want to see over the next couple of days? Obviously, but besides the obvious with health and getting guys back to full strength and all that. What do you need to see out of this group that will give you confidence going into Friday, knowing kind of what's on the line? The numbers with teams that are 2-0 going into the third matchup within the same season. The sample size, I saw the stat over a 10-year sample size through 2018, I believe. It's like a 72% hit rate on teams going into that third matchup. So the data actually does favor, that goes against that narrative that it's very difficult to beat a team 3 times. What do you need to see there to solidify your confidence that would be possible?
I think just in the next few days, right, is the interviews leading up to, the game on Friday, like, does the team look loose? Do they look tight? You and I've covered this tournament a long time, Jack, and been in those locker rooms, and usually you can tell. And we said last year that that team was wearing the weight of the world on its shoulders going into the game versus Oakland, and it showed on the floor. This team to this point, there's been no pressure. Maybe Mark Pope wore some of it the first night leading up to it, but was able to kind of cut loose. And I think staying loose and staying ready is probably it. I mean, it's all like what your mental is right now, right? And your approach. You've been able to go into this game and have a ton of success. They've shot it well in multiple games against Tennessee. Tennessee hasn't shot it well. So I think if you're these two teams, I think you're Tennessee, you're probably thinking, man, why haven't we been able to shoot it well against this team in the two games that we played? So when it comes down to, on the court stuff and then matchups like who's guarding who and things like that, Andrew Carr being a factor in this game, in my opinion, for the first time, played what 1 minute in Knoxville,
Yeah,
was
non-factor.
not really back to being a factor even in the 18, 19 minutes that he played at Rupp Arena a month or so ago. Like this is a better version of him now because he's healthier, obviously. So I know I was talking to somebody today about who could be the guy that could be the matchup for them. And I know Kobe Bray hit some big shots. Jackson Robinson was excellent when they played in Knoxville. Now you don't have him. Colin Chandler, played some minutes. Otega always probably where I think there is a matchup that Kentucky, and look, he made some tough shots yesterday.
Real tough.
And really tough getting to his spots. How about the set where they touch the post and then kind of exit and they dive and they give him the ball and he gets to the rim? They ran it off an OB under yesterday too. So seeing a new wrinkle and some things that Mark Pope's doing. Watching film the next couple of days, if you're this staff, what do you find on film for the first two games that maybe you didn't exploit that you try to do in this game? And for me, Jack, it's just about Kentucky continuing to be who they were. They got to shoot it well from three. If they shoot it well from three, they're going to win. If they go out there and hit 3 or 4 threes, Tennessee's going to have a chance to win the game. I think the 3-point line is going to be the difference for Kentucky. To me, Tennessee would have to have kind of an outlier game to shoot it very well as a team from three in multiple spots to match Kentucky. If Kentucky hits 10, 11 threes, I think Kentucky wins the game.
Yeah, that's exactly how the game unfolded in both of the first two.
And what's the pace like? Is this Kentucky's obviously wanting to get this thing going up and down, and Tennessee's been the team that's kind of had the defensive culture, right? Like in the pedigree. Well, when you look at it the last little bit, it's been Kentucky that's had the better defensive numbers. So, I mean, Tennessee can go cold, and it's probably more likely that they are cold than if they're just shooting 60, 50% from the three-point line. Make everything hard for Tennessee, and Kentucky just continue to cut, run the floor in transition. Amari Williams kind of being that guy that he's been at the 5 that can create, facilitate, and finish plays and dunk the ball. Please dunk the ball. It works out so much better when he decides to dunk the ball.
Why do you think that is? Pope was talked about it. He talked about it a little bit tonight, and he joked. I think he and we saw it. So when he gets that coast to coast, he grabs a rebound. He's face guarded by Dowd on Troy, and kind of sees that opportunity to just push it. Gets to half court, and we asked him like what goes through your mind in that moment. He's like, I get to half court, and I just realize that nobody is going to be slowing down my momentum. So I just say, screw it. I'm just going to go and take off. And he goes outside the charge circle and just punches it on that dude. And it's like, it's the perfect moment for us as our like, see, told you, like that was our told you so, because we have been saying all season long that Amari has no reason to not do stuff like that. Obviously, I mean, he's 7 foot, 262 pounds. Like, that's not a normal thing to do, but we should be seeing more of those types of things. And, Mark Pope was, especially after missing as many layups as he did and the team did in general, he was asked about it, and he kind of just brush it off and made it clear that like we have had conversations about this, and I think Amari knows that he needs to be dunking the ball a lot more. Like you said, Sean, it makes his life a lot easier. It makes our lives a lot easier when he does dunk the basketball. Is it as simple as like what is the hurdle? Like what is stopping him from doing it? He Pope kind of talked about how it might be like an engagement thing, how he kind of gets sped up at times. What would be your take on that?
Amari's really, for his size at 6'11", 7 foot, the way he handles the ball and moves, he's kind of got like a finesse approach to his game, right? Like it's not as much power as he has in a punch there. You get the downhill dribble and he's looking to scoop the thing or he's looking to dish it. I mean, the backdoor passes that he made and stuff yesterday, the one to Kobe Bray in the second half where he just dropped it and got the layup where Kobe acts like he's setting the pin down and then just back cuts it. Like
beautiful.
The touch that he has on his game sometimes I think comes back to hurt him in situations like that. Just dunk the ball. And maybe, in Drexel at that level, he didn't have to punch it every single time. But at this level in the SEC or against Power 5 opponents, just go dunk on somebody. And that's another area of this. So being in the football stadium, the large backdrop, there is a path here where I think neither team shoots the ball well, right? So then it's going to come down to the free throw line. And I think being really efficient at the free throw line for Kentucky is a key point, that if you shoot it well from three and you cash in at the free throw line, I just don't see Tennessee beating them. But if you leave the door open on one of those two, and this goes for any basketball game that you play, but I think especially in this one, Tennessee's going to want this thing to be mucked up, right? Kentucky wants a free moving pace. Make free throws, make your open threes. I doubt Tennessee's going to shoot 40 plus like they did in Knoxville, and they'll make a few. But if you can limit Chaz and you make some in return and Kobe Bray is able to hit 2 or 3, I think Kentucky's got a great chance of winning.
They started 4 of 9 from at the line, finished 12 of 20. It's progress, but definitely a talking point.
Got to do better. Got to do better. And this could be one of those games where you shoot 26, 27, 28. And if you get to that number and you're able to hit 20 and you're still in that, and maybe it's not 10 made threes gives me confidence. If you settle in and make 7 to 8, you need some efficiency at the free throw line. Can you turn Tennessee over the way Illinois turned the ball over yesterday? Can you get some easy buckets in transition and kind of flip it? All this stuff is going to play into it. Tennessee's going to be playing for their lives. Kentucky's going to be playing for theirs. It's going to be a fun one.
This Jason E. Jones, who's wearing that nasty color that's in your cup right now, what have you all won in the last 15 years? Well, a title for one is that does fit in that timeline, and we did go to 4 Final Fours in 5 years, so that definitely happened, Sean. There's so much riding on this game because, like, I saw one tweet from a Tennessee fan that said this has the chance to be the most like emotionally satisfying win in our program's history, or the most devastating loss in the history of our program. Like, there is no in between. Like, there is no scenario that would, like, there's no moral victory. Like, it's either the worst thing that's ever happened or the best thing that's ever happened. Because for a Kentucky fan, like, I saw some people putting on Twitter the dumbest take of all time, by the way. Like, I terrible. They said that they would rather lose to Illinois in the round of 32 or lose to Illinois and then rather than lose to Tennessee in the Sweet 16. Crazy. I mean, it's knowing that we get an extra weekend and like that. It's no, absolutely not. But there is so much riding on this with the rivalry, Sean, and how much we hate Tennessee, that there would be nothing I want more on this planet than to end the Rick Barnes era as we know it. Like, could you imagine the Final Four, like he can't beat the Final Four allegations, and to just like get it to the point of like, well, no, he never got it. He never got it at Tennessee. Now they just have to live with the consequences. Like there's nothing I want more than to send them home and to end the Rick Barnes era. I mean, Rick Barnes is a guy. He's a salt of the earth, really, really, really good dude, amazing coach. Like I'm nothing personal, obviously, but just to make the Tennessee fans just lose their everlasting mind would just make my year. It would mean everything to me. I remember talking when we went down to Knoxville and that win. There were some Tennessee staffers that walked up to me and they were just like, fans aren't going to like this one. This is kind of the year that we've all said that it has to be the Final Four year. It's kind of a Final Four or bust, and we're really not seeing signs of a Final Four team. And if it's not going to happen now, when will it happen? I hope it just, cut that cord. I want to be the reason that they suffered the worst heartbreak of all time.
Yeah, that would be icing on the cake, right? No, I mean, I've gone to their practices and things, and obviously Rick Barnes is one of the most well-respected coaches. But when it comes down to it, and Kentucky and Tennessee are playing, like I promise, just because I say like Tennessee will win this or Tennessee will win that, my loyalty does not lie anywhere else than Kentucky. Like. No, I grew up in this rivalry. This is a part of me, and I can hear it now, and I don't want to hear it, but I can't. If they lose Friday night, I will have to turn my phone off for at least 72 hours because I won't take phone calls from anywhere in the 865-423 or anywhere there. But if Kentucky wins, I'll make plenty of phone calls.
Oh, a lot riding on this week. We're nervous. We're excited. We're thrilled. We're grateful. More than anything, we're just grateful. It's another week with an all-time team. I'm just so happy that we get to experience this. And, we hope that the reward is kind of matches what the journey has been. This journey has been really, really cool. So Sean, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You're going to be in Indy. Are you coming officially?
I believe so.
That wasn't very confident. What is that? Are you scared of the city like I am? Because I feel like we just got if we're doing this, what we really have to do. We need to go to that open practice, watch Tennessee go through their shoot around, and we need to do a show right afterward, and we need to say this is a name your score game for Kentucky. It's a name your score game, man. Like, I mean, if Tennessee's lethargic, they look like they're showing up for a funeral. Like, I'm not seeing anything personally from Tennessee that would suggest that they have any chance of beating Kentucky. Like, I feel like we have to do it just to get that feeling again and just officially. I mean, that's the exorcism. If we're exorcising demons, that's the way to do it.
I was about to say we spend all day Thursday just kind of sacrificing whatever it needs to be to kind of.
What would you be willing to sacrifice as a Kentucky fan for this win? Like, give up something very near and dear in your life to win this game.
I don't even know what flavor this is, but I like it.
I'm giving up. I'm giving up this soda that's gonna be gone by the time this show ends anyway. Wow, you're really putting it all on the line for this fan base, Sean. Good Lord.
Kentucky's going to win, guys.
I don't know. You're supposed to.
I know, but
stick to the script.
Oh,
FT said firstborn child. Steven says he'd give up 1 year of his life.
Wow, 10 years. Yeah, I'd give up a year because it may kill me anyhow if they lose.
Yeah, I think a year would be worth it. Like, what's the difference between 99 and 98?
365.
But really, come on.
I'm just saying, like, that's at least 52 more episodes of Sources Say. that we could deliver.
Buddy said, I'm leaving here with something. Woo! Oh, this has been goofy. This has been fun. I've enjoyed this.
This is, man, I missed not being there this week. I know all the people that filled in for me. That was fun. I watched.
Buddy said he'd give up his Jack Pilgrim feet pics. Where'd you get your hands on my feet pics?
It says Fest.
Those are KSR Plus subscriber only. See, I even got a KSR plus plug in there. All right, I'm being summoned. I've been a deadbeat dad for the last week, going to Milwaukee, and I got a text from my wife that said, "You're being summoned. Wrap it up, dada." So, guess what? Show's over, folks. We're gonna be heading to Indianapolis here in the next couple of days. And hopefully coming back with a couple of wins, and I can finally not call Indianapolis my least favorite city in the whole planet. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm nervous. I'm scared, but man, the opportunity to do the most hilarious thing of all time is there. Just to go 3-0 against the Tennessee Volunteers in one season and advance to the Elite Eight for the very first time since 2018. 17 19 whatever. I'm losing my mind, but 2019, man, that'd be real special.
Mark Pope a lifetime contract when you do.
He got a one year extension. Did you see that? He got a 1 year extension and an automatic 50K raise with his Sweet 16 run. And
by the way, it looks like I'm smoking, but that was an air freshener that went across.
Liar! You're sitting over there. You're in a hookah bar right now. You're just watching the smoke bellow over you. Chin Coleman's a couple feet away from you. Anyway, I digress. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Sean, this was a lot of fun. Where can fans find your work?
Right there at _Coach S. Smith.
Find me on Twitter at Jack Pilgrim KSR. Go subscribe to KSR Plus. You may get feed pics. Apparently, that's kind of a thing now. So go subscribe there. Appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a fun ride. We get to do crazy nonsense like this, and hopefully the run continues as we go to Indianapolis. We'll be there Thursday, and we'll do our kind of thing where we did a show a day, and hopefully we get to do it for several days because that was a lot of fun, and hopefully we get to continue having a lot of fun. For Jack, for Sean, for Steven behind the camera, happy birthday, Steven. We appreciate each and every one of you. Go Cats.